Hello everyone and welcome back to Shoeless. As you know from last week, I'm your host today, Joe, and I'm joined with my fellow colleagues, business partners and friends, Nick and Toby.
Hello.
So get ready for some usual insights. The shoes are off, the walls are down and conversations are about to get real. So whether you're here for just a chit chat or some business advice, you're in the right place. This is Shoeless. So to kick things off, Toby, Nick and I both introduced ourselves last week, so it's only fitting that we pass the mic to you to start this week's episode. To kick things off, why don't you start by telling us a bit about your background? You've been involved in many businesses across varying positions, and I'm sure the listeners would be very interested to hear your story.
Perfect, thanks for the introduction there, Joe. So I'm Toby, I hosted last week. I'll go back to the start. My very first job, I started selling sweets in school. I was that kid that had a rucksack full of refresher bars and God knows what else, and Lucozade Sports and ice creams in the summer.
I used to know one of them.
Yeah, I used to sell them out of my locker and take them on the bus every day. I did end up eating a few as well, but yeah. I then you can have your last there, mate. I'll let you have that one.
Did you?
Still burning them off now. And then I got a job in Halfords, of all places, so in the bike cut in Rill. That was my first ever job. I was 16 and fixing bikes and sort of in the build up to Christmas and all that sort of stuff. Stayed there for about a year and then got the opportunity to go out to Portugal, and I was a waiter out there for 2 summers. Had a great time, had an absolute blast. I was with a brilliant family that looked after me out there. They gave me a place to stay, fed me. I went as a boy really and came back a man, and sort of didn't eat any particular food or of any variety, or wherever I went ate plain, normal, boring food, and came back eating seafood, calamari, you name it. Day one was thrown in at the deep end where there was a fish stew for the staff meal, and that was that. So I had a brilliant time out there.
Is that Alan Beak?
Yeah, Alan Beak actually took you back on one of our golf trips.
We went on there on a golf trip. Yeah, it's a beautiful restaurant.
Yeah, out in the Algarve. So yeah, I had a very, very good experience out there and got nothing but fond memories.
This is where your love of tuna comes from?
Yeah, tuna sandwiches actually. It was about all I could afford, so I learned to love them, and I still bring them into the office, and you guys hate them.
Yeah.
But hey ho.
It's the tuna potato.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from there, sort of came back and went to Cardiff Met, where I met you two. I studied business management with marketing over a 4-year period. In that period, I was also working for Las Iguanas, the Mexican food chain. Started off as a waiter and made my way up to sort of restaurant manager level during uni. Stayed for a year or two, not really sure what I wanted to do, and moved sites a couple of times. It was just sort of trying to earn as much money as I could really, and growing on a ladder. That all sort of changed come lockdown. Obviously, the restaurant industry.
What were your specific roles at Las Iguanas? What were, when you say moved up the ladder? What were the stages there? Because that's obviously quite a big hospitality company.
Yeah, it was quite big. So I started off as just waiting staff, and then moved up to supervisor key holder level. So I was opening the shop, counting all the money, all of that sort of stuff, and then progressed into sort of an assistant manager role, and then into manager role as well. So that was taking on the responsibility for people's rotas, the hours, all that sort of stuff, and different progressions, and the health and safety side of the restaurant and all that sort of stuff. As you grow in that role, you get more and more responsibility, so you take on stock ordering for the bar and stuff like that, so you start gaining more and more experience.
Any key skills?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is people skills. So I was quite young at the time, and I'd been working with people that were my age, and all of a sudden I'm their boss on paper, and that's quite a difficult thing when people have seen you as their peer, and you also come to a level of seniority where you've now got to start telling them what to do, you've now got to approve their holiday request, you've now got to sort of manage that, and that was quite a difficult challenge at the time because I was still only 20, 21, whatever the age was, and that balance, and some of these people were older than me as well, so I think that gives you a real different perspective on how to deal with people and sort of different challenges. And there were particular people that had applied for the same roles as me and hadn't got them, which was no fault of theirs, but I just got the position. And
Just better, mate.
yeah, exactly.
No fault of theirs, I'm just better.
Yeah, so but managing that and sort of learning the authority and the sort of direction you then have to command was probably one of the key takeaways. And also resolving issues. Hospitality is not easy. I've had people scream in my face about various things that have gone wrong, people that are drunk, people that are disorderly. We've got a whole...
You're an idiot sandwich!
Yeah, exactly that. And yeah, it gives you a good grounding that you can take into sort of any situation, really. Moving on from there was lockdown came, and obviously the restaurant industry didn't really exist, and I quickly learnt that I didn't really have the money for my flat if I wasn't working. So I moved back home, and after about a week back home, I thought I can't sit on my hands and do nothing. And this was a time where everyone was locked in the house, so and I was itching to be outside. And I think because I've been on my feet for so long, I actually started a dog walking business. So bought a van, got the insurance, and this is in the time period where everyone's buying a dog. So in the local area, I was out flyering, gaining customers, and really started making some good money at some points. It's the most money I've ever made dog walking, because so many people were locked in the house and wanted their dogs out so they could clean or whatever.
And I'm assuming it wasn't just you walk one dog at a time. I'm assuming you got some economies of scale there.
Yeah, so the most dogs I ever walked at once was 9, but typically I'd have 3 to 4, and I would.
And what were you charging for a dog walk?
So they were about £15. It depended. So if you had 2 dogs, the second one would be cheaper. So it would be like 20 quid for 2.
Okay. So you're looking at about £100 to £150 an hour.
Yeah, and by the time I finished that, I was doing full working weeks, and it was good work. The trick with it was making sure that my route was planned. So I knew I would pick up the dogs from these houses at this area because I could take them to this part, and that would make me more efficient, so I could get another walk in the day. So yeah, that was really, really eye-opening, but I always knew that wasn't forever. And
just out of interest, how many dogs did you have on your roster? Would you say how many were you?
Oh,
how many different dogs were you walking a week?
probably 40, 50 off the top of my head. So quite a lot, really. Some come and go, and some are different circumstances, elderly people and all that sort of stuff. And
You walked them as well, did you?
yeah, took them out as well. Yeah, thanks for that, mate.
Come on, Susan.
Fetch.
Pulling them along by the Zimmer frame.
Yeah, so then I thought I actually went into the automotive industry, but then moving on from the dog walking, it was never ever going to be my forever job, but it was a good way of learning and developing sort of skills, going out talking to people, selling, and also running a business on your own. You have to get up out of bed and go and earn your money, and I didn't get any furlough pay or anything like that, so just carried on really, and that was my way through it really. And it sort of gave me a bit of a breath of fresh air of being out of the house and stuff, and it was something that I could do. People would leave the dog in the garden and wouldn't have to worry about the restrictions at the time. So then moved into sort of an account manager role across a range of body shop repair group, where essentially I was responsible for the vehicle manufacturer approvals. So in the body shop repair industry, you have Ford approved centres, you have Tesla approved centres, VW approved centres, and they're quite notoriously difficult to make money out of because the manufacturers put a lot of cost in for the repairers. So they have to have specific paints or specific tooling for particular cars to be approved, and my job was to sort of commercialise those and get some operational efficiencies out of them. So for example, with Tesla, I took that from Tesla was a really new and exciting project at the time. We were one of the first Tesla approved repairers, and I took that from basically we couldn't order parts because we didn't know how it worked, to being able to fix about 30 a week, which is quite sizable. And getting those instructions and learning the Tesla process was really interesting and gave sort of a very different outlook, because all the other manufacturers at the time were very similar. You buy from this part supplier, you do this. Whereas Tesla sort of had a very different approach. You buy from us and you buy from us direct, and it works very differently. So I spent about 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years there, something like that. I don't know the exact timings.
Do you think that from Tesla was a commercial decision or an operational decision? What was the reason that they wanted everyone to buy direct?
I think it was a bit of they grew very quickly, so they didn't actually have the answers and they were working them out.
Yeah.
And I also think it gives them a lot of control. So I think when you're trying to buy sensors or stuff like that with Tesla, and this is going through the approved repairer network, they get a lot of control over what's fitted and what's modified, and they can see everything. It's the first time, actually a member of staff was recorded because the car was wirelessly filming in the workshop, so the customer could actually see what was happening to their car at that time. So all those sorts
like
of
live
things.
streaming on TikTok, but getting your car fixed.
Yeah, and obviously that comes with connotations when, a bit like building a house, when a car's being fixed, there are things that you don't really want to see. You don't really want to see your bathroom smashed to pieces, but you kind of have to do that to fix the car. So that was quite challenging, but I think it was a mixture of the commerciality from them. They didn't want a third party in the middle making margin, and also the way they were growing so quickly and didn't have the repair network in the country at the time. They sort of had to do it, and they were ordering direct from the factory because that's how they were growing quickly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that was really, really interesting. And then moving on to that was sort of ended last year, and then came full time in here, but had been working on this project with you guys for probably 12 months before in our spare time, and I came on board pre-revenue for the business, and I've been involved ever since. And then we've launched other projects as well that you explained last week. So
I don't need to repeat that, but thanks for that, mate. Really, really insightful. I've just got one additional question.
Sure.
On the end of there. So, obviously, you joined us as an investor.
Yeah.
And sometimes investing can be just as intimidating or anxiety provoking for the investor as well as it can be for the business owners. You know, it's a massive change that everyone's going to have to kind of get used to. And so, could you explain a little bit more about your experience with investing in general, but also as well as your experience in getting involved in our business and investing into our business, and what that process was like for you?
Yeah, so investing in general is always, you have to look at it very objectively. So you have to be comfortable with the risk that you're outlaying, whether that be £50, £100, £1,000 and going all the way up. You have to be comfortable that you may never see that money again. And that's a weird thing to sort of get your head around. And I would always advise people that if you're not comfortable for whatever reason, don't do it. And then moving on to our situation, obviously we were friends first, and it was quite a weird situation really, because obviously you phoned me, Joe, but it was an idea from the pair of you, and it can be quite daunting and also quite a lonely feeling actually, because you had all the information, you'd done it, and you obviously had your expectations of what you wanted from this conversation. But then I've also got to mitigate that with, does this make financial sense? Is this what I want to do? What are the pitfalls here? And I think one thing that really stood out to me, and is a testament to you both, is the professionalism all the way through. I think it's quite easy, and we're by no means we are a very professional outfit, but in the way we talk to each other, we still talk to each other like friends. But in that period, you were very, very professional. Everything was thought through. If I had any questions, you were there to answer them, and that gave me a lot of confidence that this wasn't just ringing up for some money and see what happens. There was an actual structure there, and an actual, well, this is the reason for this, and this is the reason for X, Y, Z, which made it stand out really, because a lot of people come and ask for different things, and they want to buy property, and they want to do this, and they want to do that, and what do I think of this? And I think it was the work that you had put in that what made me really go, actually, there's something here, and I think I can bring some value. And that's kind of where the yes came from, really.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, mate.
No worries. Thank you as well for asking me.
Cool. Right, I'm going to move on to yourself now, Nick. So I wanted to talk this a little bit, I think, kind of leading on from that conversation about change. And we all know that change is something that happens a lot in business, as well as life. So often you have to pivot or move in a different direction to survive, or just because you need to switch things up or change. So what's your kind of general approach to change in life or in business?
Oh. What a question!
What's
your approach to change?
Put you on the spot, mate. We're on the pod.
So I think. Right, let me break this down. So change-wise, there's two different types. There's like not forced, but there's intentional change and unintentional change. So let me provide an example. So you've got intentional change might be that you've seen a flat that you really like and you want to move into it, whereas unintentional change would be you're kicked out of your flat because the landlord wants to sell it or something like that. So change can happen in multiple ways, and sometimes you can it can be your choice and sometimes it's not your choice, right? So I think just preface that those are two different types of change. I think the first one that I mentioned, your life is better if you do it if you're actively seeking the changes first, because if you're waiting, generally some change will happen to you eventually.
So proactivity.
Yeah, proactivity, because then if you're proactively seeking change, then you feel like you're somewhat moving forward, right? And I feel like I've been on both ends of this. Sometimes an indecisiveness, you don't seek to change anything because you may perhaps a bit scared of change or you don't like change. And then something else happens that forces your hand, and that actually wasn't the best route for you to perhaps go down. So that change is a difficult one. I've moved house probably, I think we all have, moved flats and whatnot. And that's a really prime example of sometimes it's for the benefit and it's really good and you move in somewhere new, it feels fresh. You're probably the most recently moved in to a flat, but I bet it feels great. You feel like you've got your right space. It's a place that you've chosen, all of that. Whereas sometimes there's been change for moving flats where it's not as planned and enjoyed and whatnot.
Exciting.
And exactly. Like so probably yours was probably a very exciting move, whatnot, more recently. Whereas, sometimes it's perhaps not. I mean, even the flat that I've moved into now, it's not as amazing and fancy as perhaps my old one. So that as a negative. But I think staying ahead of things and proactively looking to change things for your benefit makes things probably a bit easier when change does happen, because it's at least your choice. It's of your personal agency that's seeks that change, if that makes sense.
Yeah, getting very philosophical here. No, good answer, mate. So, it's quite a technical one.
You really threw him in there.
So, I guess just building on that a little bit, can you think of a moment where a trigger like being kicked out of your flat has happened to you, and what was the change that you implemented, and then what was the result of that change?
Yeah, good question. So a time that I haven't initiated the change, a time when change has been forced upon me.
Forced upon you.
Yeah. Change has been forced upon me. I'll tell you what, I've got a good one, and I think it perhaps comes back to something that we discussed in the last episode 1, but around being fired from a job. So that is change where you didn't choose for that to happen. So I remember I was asked to leave a company that I was working for at the time, and a change was forced upon me, and consequently I had to react, and went and I spoke to some friends and got a job that was relatively local in the area, doing some mortgage brokering. So that was a forced change, and at the time I had to make decisions based on what cards I had. I had to play the cards I was dealt, which was the fact that, hold up, I don't have a job. I had a job, I don't have one. Now I need some money, and I need to, go and get a new one. So the change was forced upon me, and I had to do a job that I didn't necessarily then want to go into. What I then did, a few weeks down the line, is changed again, and that's when I jumped into doing my own company, social media company at the time. So after I was forced into making the change, I then kind of dealt with it at the time and proactively put myself in the best possible position until I could proactively seek a change that was something I wanted to go down. So what was the original question?
No, I think that answers it. So you've had a situation where something has happened to you. The result of that is that you've had to change and adapt, and actually what the outcome has been you've started your own business and you've made a positive impact for yourself. So I guess it shows that even in times where bad things happen, you can still make use of it with the right attitude and the right outlook and the right determination.
Yeah, I think the point there is around the short-term change of, before I could get to a point where I wanted to do something or had something that I wanted to do, I had to actively work with what I had, which wasn't the situation I wanted to be, but sometimes you've got to work through that before you can get to the desirable outcome in order to do the things you want to do.
Yeah, I imagine that you've also got to be very disciplined with that as well, that this change has happened and this is now what I'm doing.
Well, yeah, because what else are you going to do?
Cool. Right, we're going to move on from change. We're going to change it up. So I'm just going to stick with Nick here because I think obviously we haven't talked about this yet, but you've been on quite a extended period of personal change or growth. Around your kind of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to just talk to us a little bit? I've got a couple of questions, but do you want to just sort of maybe give a bit of an intro as to sort of what your decisions have been there, why you did it, and sort of what the process and the experience has been like?
Yeah, so how can I talk about this without sort of going into loads of detail about all the things that have happened? But I would say that my relationship with alcohol from the age of about 20 to the age of about 28 was very unhealthy. And although there's been times where I've had great fun and really enjoyed myself and been out and about and with friends, including both of you, and had a nice time with alcohol, there's also the common denominator of everything bad that's ever happened to me. So removing it was a decision that I decided to make, knowing that I had greater potential, and that removing it would be a positive impact on my life.
And how long has it been now?
So we're shooting this on October, so it's literally coming up to 3 years at the end of this month. So 3 years, and I would say it without a drop, but there has been some champagne at toasts and things like that. But overall, I consider myself completely sober. I haven't been drunk.
Amazing. So, and just digging a little bit deeper into that then. So, what would you say has been kind of the hardest moments on that journey? Have there been any hard moments, or has it not been? Has it been easy for you?
It actually has been really easy. It was a decision that I made. Once I made that decision, it was like that was the decision made, and that, I think the ability to make that decision and hold that promise to yourself. And I was so solid on that decision. It was like, it wasn't a maybe, it wasn't a, but I might do it. And the thing is, you talk to people and a lot of people say, moderation and stuff like that. And it was like, no, I'm just stopping.
Yeah. And then it's the consistency and the discipline after that. So commitment, but also consistency and discipline to be able to continue to do that is very impressive. So
well, a big part of the ability to do it was this.
Yeah. Right,
because I quit drinking alcohol on October the 31st, 2022. And I think the initial conversation about Megatan happened on the second week of November in 2022. So, which in a way provided a greater goal as well. So
it tied in nicely.
It gives you something else to think about. It gives you something else to do. I think if you don't replace drinking alcohol with anything else, you will struggle. I would imagine that most people that try to stop drinking and do because they don't replace it with anything and start again out of boredom.
Yeah, replace it with something positive.
Yeah, replace it with something positive. Yeah, don't go. Oh, we're going to replace it drinking alcohol with crystal meth. Like, that's not the right thing. Not the right thing to do in any circumstances. But I think that replacing it with projects, and I also drank loads of water, and to this day still drink loads of water, which I didn't do before I quit. Yeah, before I quit drinking alcohol, I literally mass ordered pallets of Amazon water to my flat and drank that. I also quit vaping at exactly the same time, and it just provided a sort of wider mission of I'm just going to now from this point forward make decisions that will benefit my life. So it wasn't just stopping alcohol; it was a complete change in mentality, which is a bit weird, really. But it's changed me as a person, like, completely.
Amazing. Cool. I've got one more question on this, and it's just so. Do you think that it's impacted your relationships, whether that be friendships or any relationships that you had, for better or for worse?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it really impacts your relationships to the point where I now don't speak to loads of people that I probably used to.
Was that because there was a commonality, and that commonality was alcohol?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's it's a telling point that the relationships that you have is. Are you only friends with some people because you get drunk with them?
I think there's probably a lot of people out there that would relate that to that.
And is that really that beneficial to you?
That's a difficult question, isn't it? Yeah.
Go on, well, there you go. You guys can answer that. Do you think that's beneficial for people that you meet and all you do with them is get drunk with them? Is there any kind of benefit from that?
I'm trying to think if there is any people that I just get drunk with. Like there's a bunch of guys that go on the golf holiday or meet like that we play golf with for a full day, and then we will go to the bar afterwards. But it's not wholly focused around just going for.
We do also have a few tins on the way round.
That's not always. So I don't know. For me personally, it's I don't feel like it's. I don't feel like it's not beneficial, if that makes sense. But I also have a wider support network of friendships around me. People that I also don't drink alcohol with and meet up and go for dinner and stuff like that. So, but I can see if that was your only friendship group and your friendship group was all focused around drinking alcohol, then I can see that being a serious problem, because you're kind of stuck between this point of I've got mates that I can go and have a beer with, or I've got no mates.
Yeah.
That is a problem for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And also I think people wouldn't know how to make friends without alcohol. So I think, like, if you said to people now, and I was actually going to throw this back to you, Nick, was how do you go out now, and was this a learning process for you? Because obviously you were quite a social person, you were out a lot, and once you don't do that, you then I know I've spoken to you before and you said I don't really want to go to the pub, like even for like non-alcoholic drinks, like I don't really want to be there because drunk people are annoying and I don't really want to be there. But that's where a lot of our socialising has happened. And does that change in how you go about making friends? Does that change as well?
I mean, I've never actually struggled to make friends, but I think it comes down to, again, the things that you replace the alcohol with. So I make friends at the gym, whatnot. And in fact, if I look back on my life, a lot of friends that I have and have met, whatnot, have been through like the gym or doing, certain things like that, whether it be some sort of sporting activity or whatnot. That's probably, in fact, the best way to make friends is through sporting activity, because there's generally an element of friendly competition, which always helps to boost people, because a competitive element will drive each other forward. But also it's a non-alcohol sort of activity that is boosting your, physical health and mental health. Yeah. So I think in terms of making friends, sporting activities is probably the area which I will go down. Whether it be the gym or whether it be some kind of event team thing or something like that. That's sort of the area that I would go down. But also as well, I find that because of the nature of what we do, and worked in sort of business for a long time now, is you make friends through like business stuff as well, like networking and whatnot. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, you're my my mate all the time, whatnot. But it's like these people I can,
if you've got a problem.
You've got a problem, and speak to them, and they understand. I've got all of these commitments and things and promises that I've made to people or clients and things like that, and these kind of people you can relate with, and they're
sometimes an exchange of value there as well.
At
the same time, so we get along and we're friends, but also we can help each other.
Exactly, and they're actually they're more like, I don't think I would be friends with people that I didn't have a sort of that commonality with. It's like what if it's not sporting and it's not business related, and what am I going to talk to you about? So it's like, well, that building's nice, or what? Like I don't know what else I would talk to people about. So that's the areas in which certainly I make friends, and I think you do. I think the thing was about relationships, and have relationships changed? Have my relationships changed? Absolutely, but it has been 100% for the better. I think one thing is if there is anyone out there that's looking to stop drinking, and your friends, I was very lucky. A lot of when I told people that I was stopping drinking, everyone really fine. But if you have got friends that are still trying to egg you on to keep drinking, is just put your foot down with them, because ultimately they're not encouraging you to become the best version of yourself. And if anything, they're looking to lower you to their level rather than raise you to what you can be.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, mate.
No problems.
We're going to move on to some open questions now. So I'm going to give you some questions, and then either one of you can decide to take it.
Okay.
It's really up to you. So going to be focused around building an e-commerce business, because that's the experience that we have. And so, first one is, what's your approach to pricing? Do you prioritise margin, turnover, or customer acquisition? And do they change at different points of business?
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Go for it.
I think a lot of this depends on what you're actually selling. So I think this relates to the type of brand you are. So if you are, like Megaton is a very value-driven proposition for the customer, and I think you really have to understand that what you're offering your customer. Are you positioning yourself at the premium end of the market? Then I actually think maintaining price and brand value in terms of price point and the premium pricing that you believe your product or offering is worth, then I think that's very important, because the second you move that needle, it's very hard to move it back. So if you have a product that's, say, £100 and for Black Friday it's on offer for £40, people lose the perceived value of that product. So I think that's very important, where you're not chasing volume, you're chasing quality, repetitive customers. That's very important for your brand and business. But in our case, for Megaton, we're in a very highly competitive space. There's a lot of people selling the same products we do, where price becomes a differentiating factor, where we focus on volume and making small amounts of money lots of times. And I think that's really important to understand where you are as a business and why that is. So what are your value drivers for that price point? The value in Megaton is convenience and price. It offers value to the customer versus their typical retail stores or wherever they may buy that product, and that's what we offer. So that's what I believe in, why we hold price and are competitive on price.
Interesting, thanks, mate. And I think that kind of leads us in quite nicely to the next one, which is obviously, I think one of the things I would just add to that is that we are obviously a reseller.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So that's the reason why products are available elsewhere.
Yeah.
But that obviously does differentiate if you own the brand and have control over the brand as well.
Could I jump in with something?
Sure.
So obviously we're an e-commerce business.
Yeah.
And the beauty about e-commerce, it means that the customer is, far more accessible. Our accessible market that we did in our business plan is far larger than it would be if we were just a local store. But that in itself means that other people can also compete, and you were talking about this with the competitive nature. that it allows customers to have far greater choice when purchasing.
Yep.
Therefore, when an identical product, i.e. the same brand, exactly the same product, is available, price is a driving factor of that decision. So having an e-commerce business is fantastic, but also when you're not fully in control of the product because other people sell it, that's when the pricing has to be incredibly competitive, because ultimately it really is a comparable decision that customers will make.
Yeah.
Great. And then, so I've got another question, which is, what advice would you give to someone starting a reseller business, so similar to ours, today with limited capital? Are there any certain, what would be the key principles that you would start with?
The most important thing is the relationship with your supplier in that scenario. And the relationship with your supplier in terms of ability to get the product quickly.
Yeah.
If there's any kind of credit limit or anything you can have if you had limited capital. And also the price that you pay for those products. Unless you are able to do all of those quickly, you're probably not going to succeed in a reseller business.
Yeah. I would also add on to that, just on the supplier bit, I would also say it's important to go and have these conversations. There was a period of time where we sort of went boom and the money wasn't coming in as fast as we were spending it on product, and we had to sort of say to our supplier, look, this is going really well, and it's not that we don't want to pay you, it's that we can't turn the tap off, and we sort of had to lean on the supplier to sort of enable us to grow. But we acted in a very, as we do with all things with suppliers, in a very professional way and said, look, this is the plan, this is what we need, this is what we're doing, and that support that was then offered came because we were transparent and honest and didn't just not pay. We sort of explained this and showed the volumes coming through, and I would advise people to sort of be open and honest, because it can feel a bit nerve-wracking or weird to go and have these conversations for the first time. They're quite normal now, but when you're first doing it, it can be a bit daunting and, well, can I ask that question or not? The worst thing they can say is no, but you don't ask, you don't get.
Brilliant, thanks guys. Another open-ended one now. So if you had to rebuild your e-commerce business today, your e-commerce tech stack today, what tools or platforms would you prioritise and why?
How long's your list, Nick?
No, so one things that I might look to change, I think if we started from scratch, I'm not sure. So we run on Shopify, and I absolutely love Shopify. I think we all like Shopify. I think Shopify comes with so many fantastic things. However,
we'll build them after the show for that one.
Yeah. No, it's not sponsored by Shopify unless they want to sponsor us. Then in which case we'll do. So I'd look into whether or not we could come off Shopify and build our own stuff with AI, our own website with AI. But obviously you would lose a lot of the fulfillment elements, the integrations, all of the payments stuff that's already incorporated. So
your speed to market would be affected there massively.
Yes, 100%. Speed to market. So Shopify, they've got that nailed on. Is one of the ones that you could not. It'd be really difficult to get rid of. The one thing that I think might change, but again, there is an element, is our Automizely /Aftership, which is our TikTok Shop integration. Whether or not we would change that completely.
Just explain a bit about what that does.
Yeah, so in order for us to manage stock effectively for TikTok Shop, we've linked our Shopify to TikTok Shop. So that pulls through all the images, that pulls through all of the product descriptions, the product titles, and the pricing. The challenge with it is that at small scale it's a marginal cost. At large scale it really does become quite a large cost that you have to pay every month, because it's sort of based on credits and things like that.
It's also based on the number of orders.
Yeah. So the more orders you do, the more expensive it's going to be. So when we first set it up, we were like, "Oh yeah, that won't matter. Are we really going to be spending thousands a month with them?" Now we do.
Month one, we were spending thousands.
Yeah, so I think we're looking at that. That's maybe one thing that I would change. But overall, in terms of the overall tech stack, we're in a very good place with it. So other than that change, there's not a lot I probably would change.
Okay.
No.
Is there anything else that we use currently? So just give a bit. Is there anything else we use currently that obviously you wouldn't change? Any other beneficial platforms out there that we use?
I mean, I think we'd all be a bit lost without ChatGPT. We use that for a lot of things.
Yeah. Is there anything I wouldn't change?
Just for examples of things that we use.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head now.
Stripe, we use Active Salon.
So Stripe, yeah, Active Salon, we do use, but again, there's not a lot of alternative choice within the market. So there's not a lot we can do there. I won't go on to potential things, but I think, Stripe, we do use in terms of tech stack. I think I would probably look to set us up with a better email database from the start. I think that's one change actually, is we haven't got a really good bit of email like software that is like an absolute killer. I think we kind of live off the cheap a little bit on that one, which Shopify's email.
I think we use, isn't it?
No, it's Shopify's own email, so we don't have like a Klaviyo or anything like that set up. And I think at the start, if we'd have invested into all the flows and everything a little bit better, but again, it's one of those ones where you look back in hindsight and it would be good to have, but but overall, the tech stack that we actually use is very malleable, and we're not ever stuck with it. There's certainly a lot of platforms and things like that out there. If we'd have had a Magento website or something like that, then we would be in an absolute nightmare position. But in reality, this is not a challenge for us. The tech stack we've got is very malleable. You can integrate a lot of platforms. If we needed to ever come off, we've got the data that we can extract. So overall, we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, I've got one more open-ended question, and then we are going to finish on some fun stuff. So, this question is: what's been the most challenging part of managing stock and fulfillment as you've scaled?
That's a good question. One of the most challenging, obviously, we have about 600 SKUs, so that in itself is a bit challenging, where we order different things come in from all over the place. It's the unexpected things where delivery inputs, or we have shipments going all over the place all the time, and when there's a delay in that cog, so for example we use Fulfill by TikTok for some of our high moving volumes. If the order doesn't go in at a certain time, that actually has a massive knock-on effect. So they're not being fulfilled by TikTok, so then that naturally diverts back to being packed at the salon. But then you are essentially ordering the product twice, because you have to have stock here and the stock that you're waiting to go into TikTok. So that becomes a real challenge when there are delays, or like the deliveries aren't going in when you are planning for, because you're essentially churning through stock here quicker, but you haven't got the delivery in, which you've already ordered. So you end up ordering effectively twice and burning the staff and the team quicker, because they're now churning more parcels. So that is a really, really tricky one.
Just a couple of follow-up questions on that.
Yeah, sure.
So, I think just what you're referencing there is our perhaps lower moving SKUs, because obviously we use the fulfillment services for some of the higher volume stuff.
Yeah, no. So when the higher moving volume SKUs, so when things go boom, and we've been quite out on a couple of payday weekends or random sales, where the high moving volume SKUs have run out at TikTok, and then they're being packed from here, and we can't get them in fast enough, that really causes you issues, because you're then fulfilling the high moving SKUs from here and waiting for them to go in. So that is probably the biggest thing that puts the most pressure on as a team, and means we're spending more with the suppliers because you're waiting to restock here and you're packing from here.
Yeah. I think that's probably something that's quite unique to our business.
Yeah.
I guess in an ideal world.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen, but like the ideal world doesn't exist. There was one last week where TikTok didn't actually receive the parcel for 3 days, and that created a lot of backlog and a lot of back and forth. But it's about being on top of them and checking the numbers every day and seeing what's from where and who's ordered what, and really checking those numbers allows you to sort of be informed. I mean, in an ideal world, you would have stock of everything. We don't do that, so we work as a business on a very just-in-time scale. So, for example, if someone ordered a product that we don't stock here, we would order it today and it would be here tomorrow and it would be out the same day. But obviously there's a lot of moving parts in that, different suppliers, different logistics companies, different things that you're chasing all the time, and that's probably the biggest challenge with it. One of the big key takeaways for me is being organised and knowing, looking at trends and knowing what you're going to sell, and being confident that you will sell it, because yes, you may be sitting on the money for a little bit, but you also have the ability to fulfill the orders that you know are coming. And when you're growing, you start learning quickly which ones are your best-selling SKUs and how many you typically sell over a set period of time, and all those things is where I think looking at the analytics is really, really important.
Brilliant. Anything you want to add there, Nick?
Yeah, so can you just repeat the question again? Exactly, yeah.
Sure. So what's been the most challenging part of managing stock and fulfillment as you've scaled?
Sure. So I think, as Toby mentioned, we've got a lot of SKUs. And I think one of the key things that any e-commerce business needs to know is, what do I need to order? And I think that was one of the challenges that we faced. But to overcome that challenge, what we're actually able to do is utilise AI and ChatGPT to write a stock app script that basically took our total number of stock and what we sold yesterday to essentially show how much stock we have left, which then guides our ordering. So I think that's something where we've had a challenge, and then overcome that with using technology.
And is that something that was relatively easy to build, would you say? Quite a technical process?
I think it's something that if we'd have done it 5 years ago, it would have been far more difficult, because ChatGPT didn't exist. But with natural language prompting, it's made it a hell of a lot easier to build that script. So if anyone hasn't looked at Google app scripts before, I'd highly recommend that they check that out, because a lot of the time, throwing that in with ChatGPT, you can perhaps solve a problem or get a process done really quickly, whereas perhaps that ability wasn't with you a few years ago before. For people that are non-coders and things like that, you can utilise that now.
100%. I think that is also something that we help with in school. So we can help organisations that are starting out on the platform to build those scripts and implement that tech so that your operations are more streamlined. It is a platform that we've set up and running where we give counsel and advice to brands looking to get on TikTok. So if you're interested, we'll put the link somewhere on the screen. And it's only $49 a month, so really sort of cheap and easy, and you can cancel any time. So I'll stop plugging now. Cool. So we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm just going to do a quick fire round. I like that last week from you, Toby. So implemented it again at the end of today's session. So simple answers, really snappy. Mountains or ocean?
Oh, for me, mountains. I love to ski. It's where I probably do my most thinking, actually, is in the mountains. Mountains for me.
Mountains.
Cool. Second one is date night or night out with the boys?
Night out with the boys.
Date night.
Date night.
That just got you some brownie points.
What song always lifts your mood?
because of a family friend of mine, David Guetta Titanium. He's often dancing on tables, jumping around to that song, and it always makes me smile.
Do you know what? It's the first song that came into my head, and I've got no idea why, but it was Sweet Disposition.
Oh, the temper trap.
Like that.
Yeah, I have no idea where it came from, but you just said lift your mood, and it's just like sweet disposition.
Yeah.
We'll put it on after.
Yeah, we will.
We'll play it on the outro.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, simple answer here, but what skill are you currently trying to master?
Podcast editing. And it's difficult.
Yeah, so go easy on us.
Yeah.
Coding with AI.
Cool. Best decision you've made in the past year?
Ooh. Best decision I made in the past year.
Gonna have to speed this bit up.
Yeah. Have you got yours?
Huh? You're the first one on them, so yeah, I'm still thinking.
Should we move on? I'll come back to it.
Yeah, I've got mine.
Go on, Nick.
Go on.
I've got mine. Getting back, starting running. Starting running and high rocks and stuff like that. I was always in the gym, a little bit sporadic with the opening of Megatown, but I've always been in the gym. But starting to run and whatnot, I've seen serious health benefits.
You've improved as well, mate. I remember our first run about 6 months ago in Ulriwas, and I absolutely smashed you.
Yeah.
And now I think you probably gas me every time. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah. Mine would be actually starting therapy. I think that's been a real good sounding board for me, and actually asking for advice has been positive.
Cool, good stuff. And then two more quick ones. Who was your most memorable mentor or teacher?
Ooh. Actually, for quite a negative reason. There was a lady she was a teacher. She was my head of year, and she sat me in her office one day and asked me, do I know how expensive it is to come to this school? And I said yes, and she basically then went on to say if she was my parent, she'd be disappointed in me. To which I turned around and said, well, you teach in a school that doesn't actually require a teaching qualification as a job. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you. So I was quickly
Burn.
I was quickly told, right, that's it, I'm phoning your parents. And she rang my dad, and he said, well, he has got a point. So yeah, but she always sticks in my head as someone that almost looked down on me, really, and tried to invoke probably a reaction at me, but it had quite the adverse effect, really. I didn't like her at all.
Are we name dropping on the pod?
Mrs. Brown.
Oh, he's done it.
Yeah. So
Mrs. Brown. You still kept it confidential.
Yeah.
So can you repeat the question again?
Most memorable mentor or teacher?
So, I didn't actually have this teacher loads, but I think a specific saying that Mr. Taylor, who's now a comedian actually, from what I understand. yeah, he is.
I can see how they go hand in hand.
But he one of the things he said, and I think this always stuck with me, and I think it's probably even more true today than it was for me back then, but I think it applies, is that for people in school, so students, anyone young listening, the job that you're going to go into probably doesn't exist yet. And I think that was one of the most, it stuck with me and I don't know why, but it really did stick with me, that the job that we were going to do probably doesn't exist yet. And funnily enough, when I was in year 9 and he was teaching me history and he said this saying, I was like, well, I imagine that to be true. I hope that's true. And it has turned out to be absolutely true. Is that all of the jobs I do now did not exist when I was in school. And I would imagine with the rise of technology and things like that, anyone who's in school right now, the job that you're going to do probably doesn't exist yet.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Okay, it's a bit of a weird one to end on that I've put in here, but eternal life or a happy life?
Happy life.
Oh. Eternal life or a happy...
Eternal life or a happy life, live to a good age of 85.
It's got to be happy life, because I think eternal life is what the devil wants, right?
Is that right?
Well, I think people that worship Satan and worship the devil are looking to live forever, but ultimately, I definitely
agree. Happy life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we know what the precursor to that is, don't we?
Happy wife.
Happy wife. And that's really hard.
Hence the don't know answer.
Oh, brilliant. I like that. Cool. So, closing out then, one final thought to kind of leave everyone with is, if you could go back in time to when you were 12 years old, what is the one thing that you would tell your younger self?
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, not financial advice. Have fun. Like, life's short. Go and have fun. Go and explore things. Go and book that holiday. Go and explore stuff. Is what I would say.
Brilliant, and that's a wrap for this episode. So thank you, Nick and Toby, for your time, gentlemen. This podcast is all about honest conversations, shoes off, and I hope you had fun, maybe learned something, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Woo!